country's in bad shape right now. All we have to do is nothing, and it will continue to spiral downhill. So how can this be done? How can we do all this? Well, here's two organizations. Number one, there's Answers in Genesis. We have resources. We have a website called answersingenesis.org. On that website, we have many other resources and articles you can download for free to start equipping yourself. We're the group that built the Creation Museum. In less than 3 years, we've had over 1 million visitors. Then there's a brand new group, which I'm leading now. This is an arm of Answers in Genesis, an arm of Answers in Genesis called Creation Training Initiative. Our website is creationtraining.org. Let me tell you about what we're doing. We're setting up new courses. What we're doing is establishing courses to train others how to speak and teach on creation. We're following the model of biblical discipleship. This is our first course we have out now. It's a one-day course. It goes from 8:30 to 5:30. In that one day, you learn about biblical authority, why Genesis is important to understanding the Bible. You learn about apologetics. You learn a little bit about science. Then we train you on Christian education. Why on Christian education? Because methodology-wise, notice I said methodology-wise, most Christian education is no different than public schools. Because what are we doing? And I see this all the time, training our students to pass a test. Christian education has to be life-changing. We have to keep it up here, not just pass a test. And in that course, I talk about the techniques that can do that. We have developed some very good techniques for retaining information and giving it to our youth so they can go out there and be witnesses to their peers. This kind of a course costs $45. Let you know, it does cost $45. But what do you get? You get this manual. And in this manual, you have all the PowerPoint slide pictures there and text beside them so you know how to use them. Then we give you a DVD with all the PowerPoint slides. And then for that $45, we feed you lunch. And then for Christian school teachers, this is ACSI certified for a continuing education unit. That's a pretty cheap price for all of that. A full day of training. We're serious about equipping this next generation. Our mission is to train Christians worldwide how to teach on this subject. And it's not just a matter of knowledge. We've heard of what's called the unpardonable sin. Well, in this course, we teach what's called the near unpardonable sin. Haven't read that one, have you? The near unpardonable sin as a teacher is this: never be dull, boring, or monotonous. That's the near unpardonable sin. In other words, we train you on communication skills also. We want dynamic speakers and teachers. We want the Bible to come alive. And then our second part of our mission is to equip our youth how to defend the faith. We're going to offer that first one in October in the Cincinnati area. It's called a Youth and Youth Leader Defending the Faith. What we do in there is we teach for 20 to 40 minutes on a topic. Then the students in their groups have 10 minutes. I do not like idle time. They have 10 minutes to come up with a defense. Then we come out and challenge the groups, and then we do a debrief. And we go through a day and a quarter like that. And it's not just us lecturing. They must demonstrate that they can do this. They must practice it. Our first one will be in October, then we're going to take it all over the country. We are tired of our youth being casualties. So we have the one-day course. Then we're going to start, as soon as we get the funding and the finances, we're going to have a 4-day course. We're going to do exactly the model Jesus did. We're going to bring 14 people in. 14 people. And we're going to pour ourselves in those 14 people for 4 days and train them how to speak and teach on creation. This is not an easy session, but it'll be a safe session. Our job is to make sure everybody can do this. We don't want anybody to fail. We train for success. You'll have to take tests. You'll have to demonstrate you can speak on a subject. We'll grade you on that. And we'll throw you up in front and see how well you can answer questions. Because that's what's going to happen when you get out there in the real world. When somebody in your Sunday school class raises their hand and says, "Prove to me God exists," or "Couldn't the days be millions of years?" You've got to know how to answer those questions or you lose your credibility. We want to train people exactly the way Jesus did to his disciples. Pour ourselves into them. In other words, what we're going to do is what normally takes 5 or 6 years to do, we're going to shrink it down under a year. And think, if we got 3 and they train 3, and those 3 and those 3 more, that's over 50,000. We're going to start with 14. We want those 50,000 out there. Then we have our youth and youth leader defending the faith conference, a day and a quarter. We're looking at training teachers in service days. I've already been doing this. I go around the country, and Christian schools will give the students the day or 2 days off, and I will come in and train them on apologetics, how to teach apologetics, how to make Christian education the best education there is, how to make it life-changing. I've already been doing that. We're going to take that all over the country. Equipping course in a box. We've already tried this once, and we're going to start resurrecting these courses as soon as we get the funding. What we're going to do is, and the whole purpose of this is to help our students that are attending public schools. In these equipping courses in a box, we train them how to ask good science questions in the classroom. And we always train them to do this politely. Then we train them how to understand the teacher's response and how to respond to that politely. And we train them how to write their papers on evolution and defeat evolution by keeping to the rules of just writing on science. See, if we can't get into the schools, we will prepare and help the students that are there. It's called covert operations. I was trained in that. A 4-day youth camp. Can you imagine a 4-day youth camp that is 90% training and only 10% free time? Just the opposite of what we normally do. And then finally, we're looking at advanced apologetics courses. Learning how to recognize logical fallacies, learning how to use presuppositional apologetics. Powerful tools. That's what we're about at Creation Training Initiative. So our mission, this separate new arm of Answers in Genesis, is going to take a lot of prayer, because God's going to have to lead the way. But it's also going to take a lot of funding. We realize that. That's the practical side. We know the atheist camps. I do a whole talk on where the atheist camps are in this country. They bring in students 8 years to 17 years old, and they thoroughly train them that they don't have to believe in God, and they're well funded. We can do the same thing, and we can win this battle. You see, our children need to stop walking into those classrooms and be the casualties. We need to train them up so when they walk into that classroom, they can control that conversation. They're the ones that have the answers and become a witness for Jesus Christ. You see, it's within our power to do this. The decisions we make today will determine whether America continues on the road to becoming a post-Christian nation or whether we return to our roots called the Bible. That's the decisions we have to make today. We bring a lot of resources with us. I'm not going to talk. We have them on the flood. We have on Noah's Ark. We have children's resources. Whatever we don't still have out there, you can order, and we will pay the shipping. That's how serious we are. We'll pay all the shipping. You don't have to pay any of the shipping. We'll just send them to you. Now, I want to finish with one final piece here. I can argue this side very well from both views. You see, I grew up an evolutionist. Also used to be an athlete. Notice the words, used to be. I was not even a Christian until I was 30 years old. One day I was in the gymnasium lifting weights. You have to lift weights. If you want to run around circles faster, jump higher, and throw things further, you have to lift those weights. And I was in that gymnasium that day, and a man came up and approached me and sat down next to me. And you know what this man did? Believe it or not, this man gave me the gospel. Right there in the gymnasium. I thought that was for working out. Then he asked me some questions. I answered all his questions wrong and ignored everything he had to tell me because I had no room in my life for God then. 7 years after that, I was on a business trip to Indianapolis. I was in computers at the time. I got done work late one evening, got back to the motel room, and got in bed. And as I lay there in bed that night, I finally understood the message that man gave me. That's the night I got on my knees and professed Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Then after a while, I got back in bed. I still couldn't go to sleep. I had a strong desire to teach the book of Genesis, which I had not even read yet. So I reached into the drawer in that motel room and pulled out the Bible and began reading Genesis. And I instantly knew if I couldn't trust that first chapter, there would be no reason to read the rest of the Bible. Or some, not all, but some of what I was taught at the university was not true. So I had the opportunity to travel all over this country. And I'd stop and talk to these scientists, these people who believe in evolution. I'd go into the universities, talk to the professors, and I'd ask them questions about evolution. And I soon found a pattern to their answers. They all had a lot of wonderful stories, but not one of them could directly answer my questions. So I thought to myself, here's these people that tower above me in intelligence, could not answer my basic questions on evolution. So why should I believe in evolution? Because when I turned to the Bible, I found answers. You know what I found even better than that? I found hope for my life. Now I'm not only a Christian, I'm a creationist. Several years ago, my wife and I were on a 6-week speaking tour throughout the Southeast states. 6 weeks we were on the road. Every day we were in one or more churches and schools. And we stopped in one place in Jacksonville, Florida. And that night we were staying with the pastor. And after I got there, I sat across from this pastor and we began talking about the Bible. We talked about creation. Then we started talking about some other things we had done. And we found out we had both been in the United States Marine Corps. And once you find that out, you have an instant bond. So we began to reminisce what we had done in the Corps. And we found out we had both been stationed at Quantico, Virginia, a large Marine Corps training base, so we reminisced about that. And we continued to talk and found out we had both been stationed at Yuma, Arizona, a small Marine Corps air and missile base. So we reminisced about that. And we continued to talk, and all of a sudden, he sat back in his chair and he stopped talking. And he looked right at me. And he said this, I remember you. Do you remember me? 27 years ago in a gymnasium, I gave you the gospel presentation. See, that man did what he was supposed to do, folks, and that is go out and give the truth. Don't worry about changing anybody's life because we can't do that. All we're commanded to do is go out and give the truth, but we can't do that if we don't know the truth. Let's arm ourselves this day. Let's take action, and let's start building that 50,000 army of Christian teachers out there who will stand on the authority of God's word. Thank you, and God bless you.